So it's the first episode, and the first person, Luke Diestel.
What's up?
I met Luke at the beach in Santa Monica. He had long dreads,
Yep.
piercing blue eyes, and super cool tricks. And I was just starting back then. So you were just like this unrealistic figure that is...
Well, what year was that?
When we met?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because I might have been starting too.
No, you were doing like, I think already like Backtastic and like stuff like that. So it's...
Okay. 2013,
maybe, yeah.
14 maybe.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I was just like fascinated by tricklining and like Yusef and Martin.
Yeah, that was the crew. That was the Santa Monica
the
crew.
trio, yeah. And then we met again in Brazil.
Yeah, that was 2015, right?
First World Cup.
Yeah. But we've been seeing each other like at the beach and stuff, right?
Yeah, but I think that was like the first time we actually like talked.
Maybe.
In Brazil.
Yeah.
And I remember that all the people in Brazil were really excited that you're coming. And I think because of the what's his name? The guy who Justin's video.
Yeah. Justin with the 900s and double backflips or something. I forgot what the video
What was
called.
The song in there? There was the song that everybody was singing.
Okay, yeah. Shimmy down, bang, bang. Shimmy down, bang. Yeah, who is that? No hair. That was after I cut my dreads. Like right after.
So you were the first one to learn the double back and a whole bunch of other tricks, right?
Yeah, I learned it a lot first, but so did everybody. Like,
I stopped being so modest.
At that time, it was like so new. Everything was so new.
Yeah.
So it was a matter of time somebody was going to land the double backflip.
Yeah, but it was you, okay? It was you.
Yeah, well, I was pushing.
Make peace with
it. For sure. I wanted to be the top. Everybody wanted to be the top, you know? That was cool. I forgot about that one. A little spiral with the foot tap.
I love your back bouncing tricks.
The back bounce was something I tried to perfect. I always liked the look of like back bounces, feet stuff, and yeah. I don't know. It's hard to explain. I could never turn front side. It's funny that's in the video. Slackers. What was that was like a trial with Voodoo. That I'm wearing a Voodoo shirt. So that's like my signature line that was with Voodoo slack lines.
Right, yeah.
With Emilio.
You was with Emilio for
I was with Emilio for one Gibbon split into Slackline Industries. I went Voodoo route with Emilio, and I mean that was a whole controversial thing, which looking back was so petty, like nothing. I don't know.
Did it motivate you to train though?
No, nothing motivated me to train more than just me wanting to get better. Like me just wanting to be better and better.
But I remember you were telling me you work at Trader Joe's.
Yeah, I mean, it all started with me working at Trader Joe's. I got a job after high school because I didn't go to college. I went to like a semester and a half or something of community college, started working at Trader Joe's, worked there for like 6 months, met a guy, and he was like, do you want to go slacklining? And I had always seen it in the park, and I actually saw the people swinging on chains.
Like in Thousand Oaks? Where
Thousand Oaks where I grew up, yeah.
Yeah.
And I always see people between the trees. And we went out there, we had some beers, we were like, all right, let's just go check it out.
Beers, of course.
We had some beers, just to go check it out. And I was like, I was hooked. I was just like walking on it, getting my inner chi, my hippie thing going, you know. And yeah, you just get like addicted to it, like everybody does to a slackline. And that's when I went to, once I did it for about 6 months, doing longer and longer lines, surfing mostly.
Why did you like it? What was so?
Just because I couldn't do it mostly. I feel like it was just like, I can't do this thing, and I want to be able to do this thing. And I had just been doing like, I played.
Have you been doing other things that you don't know how to do, and it's like?
For sure.
Yeah.
Everything in my life, except for team sports. I played team sports my whole life, and I was like, I'm done with this. You know. Then I found guitar after I quit swimming, water polo in high school. Did guitar for like 2-3 years, just only guitar, playing in some bands. Then I start working at Trader Joe's, and I refound this kind of athletic side. and started doing slackline, and I needed to do slackline. Needed. I went to Santa Monica, met with Zeph, Martine. I had seen them on P10 on YouTube.
What's P10?
Perfect Tension. So that was like, I saw a Perfect Tension competition at the beach with Garrett, Kyle, all my buddies from when I was younger, and we saw them. We were like, oh, we need to go to Santa Monica. Like, that's the way to do it. And I went through so many slackline friends, you know, like Garrett freaking went to the park with me every day. Jay went to the park with every day. Pierce went to the park. Like, I went through all these friends that were like training with me, and then finally they'd get exhausted. I'm done, and I go to the next buddy, and I would just do those things.
Is it because you wanted to do it a lot?
I just wanted to do it. I did like twice a day sessions for probably years at a time. 2 years. I did always morning and afternoon. And
do you feel like that's the way to get better? Just train a lot.
I mean, yeah. The only way you get better is if you do it a lot. You don't have to do it that intensely.
Did your body hurt?
No. At that time,
how old were you?
I was like, I started when I was like, it must have been 18. I was just out of high school. Started when I was 18, and yeah, I didn't start feeling pains until I was like 25.
Oh, it's a long time. It's like 7 years without pain.
Yeah, 7 years no pain.
I started at 32.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm like, oh, what is this thing?
I couldn't imagine starting right now with all my...
How old are you now?
I'm 28, about to be 29. I mean, did I feel pain? Yes, you feel like slack rash pain. You know, the sacrifice. You know, every day you're grinding. Like you're just bruised all over your body. But am I feeling pain in my neck? No, every day I could go out there if you're just like, don't be a wussy. Just
and
like
now you're like, oh my God, if you tension the slackline, my body's gonna hurt.
Oh yeah, now I'm a wussy. I'm like, all right, screw it. I've paid my dues. That's it. I'm done with it.
But your back balance is still good. A lot of stuff is still good.
Yeah. I mean, there's tricks I've kept over the years, but back bounce is easy on the body. You know, you just fall on your back. It's chill. But if you're doing a bunch of chest bounce, a bunch of butt bounce, if you don't have calluses on your butt, on your ankles, anyway.
So what motivated you then?
So what motivated me was, I'm not going to get a 9 to 5. I can't have a 9 to 5. I can't sit at a desk. I need to move. I'm doing the stuff, and it kind of comes out in my training where I'm kind of intense with it. I mean, you know, like I'm just like, once I get in on something, I zero in on it, and I'm like, I need to do this thing. Nothing's going to stop me to do this thing. And it's a little obsessive. It's a little ADD, a little bit like I'm just always thinking about it. Sometimes I can't go to sleep. I'm thinking about it. So that kind of pushed me. And my parents funny stories, like my parents were like, all right, every day you need to come home with like 2 or 3 applications for work, you know? And you need to fill them out. They're pushing me. You need work. If you're not going to school, you need to work. And I was like, I hear you. So then I would go out, get the applications, show them that I have them, and then I would just go slackline. I wouldn't turn anything in. I wasn't trying to get a job. I was like, there's no way I'm getting a job.
So you were hoping you would get a job with slacklining?
Yeah. I don't know why I thought slacklining was an option. I don't know why I was like, oh, you know what? Like,
because back then there was like nothing, right?
Back then it was like, yeah, I saw some people on the internet. I didn't know if they were making money or not, but they were doing it, and I was like, oh, I want to be that guy, and I want to be, you know, I want to just be good at it, and there was no plan of like, oh, I'm going to make money, and this is how. It was more like, I really love this thing, and I want to just do it, and then we're going to see how I'm going to make that work, and then, yeah, it started with just paid travel and going to competitions and doing demos, and that's really what pushed my mom over to be like, oh, maybe there is something that I can let him just do this thing, you know, and she saw that I was traveling with Voodoo, I was getting my own kind of line, pushing that into my mom, now realizing I can maybe make this into something. I was like, hey,
what about your dad?
My dad was on the other side. He was like, no, he needs a job. I don't know what the hell's going on, but I told him, I said, okay, King of Slackline for Gibbon, that was the big motivator for me, was just because like they were making you learn new tricks. Like if you had never done ascension from chest to feet, and you've never done free fall from feet to chest, you had to learn that week in order to get to the next round. And that was motivating me so much. So I was like, Mom, Dad, I need to make...
I need this time to train. And
I need to make a slackline in my backyard. That's what I was saying. I need to have it in my backyard. And my dad was like, yeah, ask your mom. That's in his head, he's like, that's never going to happen. And my mom was like, yeah. He was like, what are you... So then...
I told you to ask your mom, so she would say no.
Exactly. So I ended up going down to near our local Home Depot, and they had like some just trees that fell over, these huge trunks, 2 perfect ones. And I was like, I need a flatbed for that thing. We got 5 of my buddies, a flatbed, lifted these things in the truck. I poured 500 pounds of concrete in each hole, 6 feet deep, and sunk these things in the backyard. And that's where I just like, whoa. Every day I was waking up and I was watching this video. Young-tastic men tricklining. This is back in, okay, come on. This is back in 10 years ago, so that's 2013. And
did you train by yourself in the backyard?
Yeah, I trained by myself in the backyard. Like, first of all, he's in the snow, which I had never been in like negative degree weather, so I was like, oh, how's he doing in the snow? And like, oh, maybe it's a cushion, and I was like, oh, it's crazy. I didn't think it was just freezing cold. And the layers, you have to flip with layers on. Epic music. The guy's doing, like, people were never thinking about that. From feet to back, man, it's unbelievable.
Did you try all of this stuff?
Yeah, eventually. Eventually, I did most of these tricks in this video, but at the time, nobody had thought of them, and he's like...
He's pretty inventive.
So inventive.
Yeah,
Jan is insane,
he would think about something that nobody thinks of.
Like this. This became a trick. I was like, oh, I'm gonna do that. But in my head, I was never like, oh, I'm gonna do that. This is to crook. What? Misty to crook, dude. That's insane.
Is there anything that you kind of invented?
That I invented?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's some tricks that I had just done first. But I guess the invention was like the Arabian Fearless, and then I remember it's like everyone's like, oh, you learn this first, so then you get to like name it, and I was going along with it, but in my head I was like, why are we naming tricks that are already like have a name?
Yeah.
You know, like a double backflip to feet. That was insane. Carlos Neto was doing that a lot. You know, if you're doing like double butt backflip, why don't we just call it double butt backflip? And then
so you had to name double backflip?
So I didn't have to, but that's a funny story too. So I posted the first one on YouTube. So short. I posted the first one on YouTube. I named it Double Trouble, like the video. And I went to Brazil, and they were like, "Are you gonna throw the double trouble?"
Oh, and I was like, thought it wasn't. Oh,
that's
sorry.
not the name of it. I was like, "What, are you serious? This is just a funny little thing. This is a double backflip. What the hell?"
It's double trouble.
Anyway, double trouble, dude. So, yeah, I don't know.
But did you give names to any tricks?
Yeah, I gave names to the demon flip, double twist, one flip.
Yeah.
Because the single is angel flip by Angel, and so I was like, "Oh,
that's
funny."
Angel
demon
in Brazil.
flip. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's funny. We've talked a bit online about doing because he's doing a lot of circus stuff now.
Yeah,
so we talked about some stuff. But demon flip, I call it the holy grail of I don't know why, but I don't even know if you want to say that I landed it first. Maybe I didn't. But over the pool in Brazil, I did the full in back out, and I named it the holy grail. But since it's over the pool, is it really the first person to land it? I don't know.
I mean, did you dab? Did you stay on the line? Yes.
I stayed on the line.
Yeah.
And how do you dab in water? But some can say that it's easier over water. I don't know. The other person was Abraham. Abraham did it over ground, over a mat. So, I mean, I got to give it to that guy. But I named it. I named different stuff.
Unless we have to like blend it over water, over cushions, over concrete.
For sure.
Over spikes.
You got it. What's the Okay, he got over spikes. That's a different name, and then this one's like a
spiky holy grail.
But spiky holy grail, yeah. So yeah, that, I mean, there was other. I remember trying to think of all the tricks, but it doesn't really matter, you know. Like, I don't know. We were at the beach, and it was just like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then I would do a trick, and I'd be like, all right, I want to try back full. So I was doing back full, and then I wasn't getting the right spin, and I was landing weird with my chest on the line, and they were like, you could go to chest. And I was like, oh, really? So then I was like trying, and then I landed it, and they're like, that's a new trick. And then we like named it the Kraken flip or something. But it's just Arabian to chest. But, you know, we're all like sitting there like just trying to think of what's possible, what can be done, what is this? Why are we doing this? And so anyway, it was such the time to be in it. Like Andy Lewis, Gapai, all these people like invented tricks before us, like free fall, like ascension, like simple tricks now that we say, and now even these days people are doing doubles like it's simple. So I don't want to say that, but you know, they did the foreground for us. I got into a time where it was easy to learn those tricks because they've already been done. And then I was there to be able to push the limit,
yeah.
you know, like,
but I think it's always like that.
Of course,
yeah.
Because now even people come in and say, oh, I need to learn a double within the first year, which I'm like, I've done it for 5 years, and I'm like, oh crap, I got to do a double. Like, and I'm like, Dad, I think I need to really like get new maths or something because I'm getting, and people are just doing it like nothing.
Yeah.
So now people are doing triples, and you're like, oh my God, like what's the new thing? And so yeah, people were trying to think, like, I was talking to Josh Bodwin, and he was saying like, I think that the new thing's gonna be high line stuff, like the line's gonna be higher. But I was like, I don't know if that's more interesting, or having it still on the ground, but the line's going higher off the ground. So then that means that we're going higher.
Right.
You know?
Because at first the line was really low, I remember.
At first it was, yeah. I mean, if you look back at 2009 or 10 with Andy Lewis, they were like at the knee.
Yeah.
And they're just doing feet stuff, and then sometimes do a butt bounce, but it was so rough.
But it's funny because when I got in the sport, you guys started to set line higher and higher.
Yeah.
And then everybody would make fun of me for setting the line lower. And then I look at the old videos, I'm like, you guys
That's
kidding me. That's how you were training.
Exactly. I know, it's
true. And now everybody was making fun of me for setting up low lines.
It's so true, but you know that line that goes across parallel to where people walk? That used to be our line.
Yeah,
and now
really
that's
short.
way too short.
But I think that's kind of what pushed
low.
the sport forward, like setting up higher lines and longer lines.
Of course, yeah, for sure. Now it's able to, you have more time in the air. You have
Show me something else that you were inspired with.
Let's see, yeah. Okay, so that was hands down I have probably half of the views on that video because I watched that every day, probably multiple times, just to get out of bed. I was like, I don't want to get out of bed. All right, I'll watch Jan. And then I'm like, I'm going to train. I'm so
Have you ever met Jan?
Yeah, I met him. So that's another thing. They were doing this is back 2013. I hadn't competed. I wasn't even that good. I was just looking at these different people. I still had dreads at the time. And I went to Vegas with Martine, CR, a lot of people from the beach, LA, and they drove me to see this competition that was at the MJ Michael Jackson Theater in Vegas. And I went there.
I think Alessandra was there too, right?
Alessandra,
I remember she was telling me, like, are we going to Vegas? There is a trickline competition or something. And I wasn't even anything then, so I was like, of course I didn't go.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, wait, what's happening? So then we went there, and then we went to the top of the Mandalay Bay, and it was like a highline event, you know? And I looked to my right, and it was Gapai, and I was like, oh my God, like I've been watching this guy for so long. In my head, it's been like a year or 2 years. I'm like, he's an idol. And then I look to the left, and it's Jan. And I'm like, oh my God, Jan's right here. Dude, it was insane. So and we just barely got up. Like, people are trying to get us in the VIP thing. I'm just like, I'm just so stoked I'm here. And then afterwards, Felix Carrera was like, oh, do you want to, like, come eat with us? Because we have like, tokens to go down in the cafeteria. Yeah. And now I'm eating with Jan, Carlos Neto, Felix Carrera, and I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. I had such a starstruck, you know? And then the next year being in a competition with all them, was just like, it was like the
Is
end
still
all.
Jan and the Gapai your favorite?
Yeah. Well, looking back, Jan is just the. It's like when we were talking back, like what people want to see. There were just things like I wanted to emulate him, and I have people like that in tramp wall that I'm doing now. But like, I look at him and I'm like, wow, this guy understands something to a whole new level, you know, and he understands things that I want to do, you know. Other people, I don't want to name names, or I don't even know, but like other people are really good at certain things, and I think it's really impressive, but it's not so much that I want to like go emulate that.
Like if Jan started right now, do you think it would be like the same thing?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, it's definitely a timing thing. It's definitely like me talking about how I got into the sport at the right timing for me, you know, and having those people to idle for a bit, and just like, you know, if he got in nowadays, there's no telling.
Might be because it would have been easier for him because he would knew what's possible, and then he could push it even forward.
Exactly,
like
and there's no saying what he could accomplish right now, because maybe he would be one of those kids that was like, oh, doubles are done already, and he would learn it in the first, even though he was the first to do double front. Maybe he would have learned it faster if somebody had already done it. Who knows? So. But the guy's super good. He came from parkour. Him and Tari like are really aware of their bodies.
We should watch some of the Tari and Young.
I would love to. Yeah, we can definitely do that. But I want to go back to Luca Rocha real quick, because this guy's another guy who I just like looked at and I was like, he had a similar body type. That's another thing when it comes to like slacklining is like
find somebody who is similar.
When you look at me and Jan don't really have the same. Like he's lighter. He's shorter, a little lighter. But I just like the style and the composure he had on the line, you know. But like if you look at Zeph or even Martine, like we just have different different weights, body types, and so you know a line that fits them doesn't really fit me. So when we were training it all the time, but there's always this like we want it tighter, I want it higher, you want it this, and so it's like you're trying to figure out.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I'm totally with you. But it would be, I don't want to blame anything on this, but like it's not a heavy man sport, you know. So looking at Luca and being like, wow, he's my weight and my height, and he's doing these crazy tricks. So it's like, oh, it's doable, you know. But
yeah, I met him in Brazil too.
So I like Misty Flips, which insane. And then a year later he came with 2.0, and 2.0 I think was, well, of course it's better because it's the year after he's progressing. But going through all this stuff, also another epic song. Just stoked. When you're in bed at 9, you're like, all right, I'm getting pumped up, you know. Also, it's so funny. Like you look at these. How he did the same trick as Jan. But you look at these spots, and when you're like looking at them in videos, you're like, oh, you have such a different. Oh, I like Misty Flips, the first one I think. Now he's like 2.0. You look at these spots and they're so iconic for you, and then you go to them and you're like, oh, it's real, you know. Oh, that line, because that line you're like, oh, that's such a bouncy line, and you go there and you're like, holy crap, it's not even that bouncy. He's just making it so good, you know. It's like all in their technique and everything. Igor did the same.
Is it the Ipanema spot?
That's Ipanema, yeah.
I've learned my chest bounces in Brazil.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It was so scary for me.
For sure. Chest bounce.
But I remember like during the World Cup, you guys were competing, and I got so pumped up, and I went in the back line, the training line, the warm-up line by myself. Sick. I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do the chest bounces. And I was doing the chest bounces.
But that's the funniest thing, too, is like that's where it compares to skating, too, you know, because skaters just go out and be like, you know what? I don't even care if I fall. I'm just going to do this right now. And you just get this mindset of like invincible. I mean, skating's gnarlier for sure. But you get that mindset of like, oh, I'm going to get in the line and I'm just going to, I don't care if I get torn up.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do it, you know? And same thing with the chest bounce. No matter where you are, you're just like, all right.
Here it is.
You have to get over that's insane. He came to LA with his dad to train and come to Santa Monica. And Justin did a video with us, with me, him, and Martine and everybody, Zeph. That was another good video. Straddle. So that's an example of like something that I'm just tricks I'm not interested in, you know. Misty Flip, super interested. You know, getting height the way he does, 720, super nice. But when you go into like the straddle, which if you don't know what that is,
I do know, yeah.
It's like or if somebody's watching doesn't know what it is. It's like when you do a regular butt bounce, but you hang your the top of your foot on the line behind you. So you kind of do a fake splits, and it gives you extra points, you know.
But I think it also depends on like flexibility.
Yeah.
If you don't have that flexibility, it's not gonna work for you. And
it's totally true. I used to slackline all the time in jeans, and people would be like, I finally got a circus contract, and they were like, do you always do Misty to double front? That was insane. Do you always do flips in your jeans, or do you ever wear shorts? I'm like, no, man. Like, there's no way I would do that. Yeah, it hurts. But then I never even realized that it was restricting my flips because I wasn't flexible enough. You know,
to grab your.
I was grabbing as tight as I could, and my jeans were not restricting me at all. You know, and then I got more flexible. I was like, holy, how did I ever flip in these things? You know.
Yeah, true.
But Luca was freaking insane, dude. But what was it? What was the other video? Oh, the Jan.
Okay, so Jan and Tauri.
Yeah, let's do Jan and Tauri.
Tauri was my hero with back bouncing.
Tauri's an animal, dude. Tauri, like.
Why do you think he was so good? Because like like you were saying, like some tricks you care about and some tricks you don't care about. I think he just like cared about the back bouncing.
He cared about back bouncing, but he cared about like also innovating. Like he started doing the what did he land first? The back spiral. Remember that one? Oh, he did like.
Like I do remember the video. I didn't remember the time when he.
Okay, well it was him. He was doing that stuff, And he would just get ripped up, and he was really good on his back. And but he was good at everything. Like it was like, oh, he's good on his back, and then he would come to a competition, and they were like, look at this new trick, and he's like, oh, let me try, and he would do it first try. You know? Like the guy, like him and Jan really know. Yeah,
I recorded a video with Tari, and he was actually all about, like you mentioned, lines higher. Yeah. You know, but he was all about. Like figuring out what he's good at, I think, like with back bouncing or going higher. He started training on the lines higher and higher and higher. Okay. And that's the video we did when he was like in a higher line and I was on the lower line.
I remember that. Yeah. But he was doing like front flips feet to feet on like a 10-foot line or something, like super high line.
It's like crazy, right?
It's insane.
Like, how do you even fall from that height?
You can't. That's why I'm like, what, dude? If you fall, you're gonna hurt something. I just did a show recently where because I still do slackline, I'm sorry. But I just did a show. Yeah, don't tell anybody. I just did a show where the line was, it was over a stage in the middle of the thing, but it was at the top of a container. And the containers are a shipping container, and they're about like 9-10 feet. And it goes from corner to corner. And I was like, I have to walk from the container to the middle of the stage. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to do it. And then I started doing it. I did a couple times, and I was like, damn. And that wasn't even that high. Yeah. And I couldn't imagine doing a flip up there, imagine. You know? I was like, man, he was crazy. Okay, so there is this one.
You know what I was surprised at? That Tauri and Jan are not even, weren't even friends. There were just not a lot of people tricklining in Estonia. And
they were like, we got to do something together.
Jan wanted to record a cool video. He's like, okay, who's there?
It's Jan. It's got to be Tauri.
Yeah. Let's play this one. This is classic.
This is a classic one.
Yeah. But should we play the?
This is the OG, and then they came out with this one. This was amazing too. This was crazy. Like this is just the creative part. They're just thinking of, all right, what can we do? They're on the same line. People don't even understand how crazy that is. This is the same line too.
Yeah.
This is unbelievable.
It is crazy, yeah.
Imagine just try to go on the same line.
Line with somebody.
That's it. Just walk.
Yeah, it's impossible.
And now they're doing front flips. I think they do a back bounce at the same time. Right there. Oh, they do a back together. That's crazy.
I went to this place too.
Oh, really?
Life.
Backflip. I think they did that together, Carlos Neto and everything. In Madonna, because he went on a Madonna tour with Carlos Neto. That was sick. 540 transfer. This is back when transfers were not a thing, really.
That's the low line that you were talking about. Like super low.
Yeah, it's pretty low. And you're like, whatever.
I think it's like mid-thigh or something.
They got to put sticky butt bounce because everyone loves sticky butt bounce.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what
they said. This was the hardest one to do. Out of all of them. This was the hardest thing. It's funny as heck.
Well, they're both so good.
No, they're
and they're both really good on feet, too.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
I think it's like creativity. I don't know
the first slack wall, you know?
Slack wall, yeah.
Slack wall. Same line again. Okay, not the same timing, but it was the Baximus. Same line, different desync. Crazy. Or tandem, is that what you call them? Tandem? That's insane. Oh, here we go. They're desyncing, bouncing on their feet. And I think they do front flip or something. Or no? That's a nice cut. That was definitely a dismount. Like 540 in a tuck like that.
Yeah.
That's something I thought was super cool. And it's something that's just like, oh, it's just a 540. But he did it with that tuck, and I was like, that is so cool. Anyway, let's go immediately to the other one, because the other one
I think it's blue internet, dude.
Yeah. It blows
It's like blue internet.
At 207,000 views.
Even who never watched Trickline would watch this video.
Exactly. I would show people in the circus I was working with, and they were like, wait, what? What is happening? First of all, you need to have Jan, who has these crazy ideas, and you have to have Tori, who's willing to do anything.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like...
Like, I wonder why it wasn't Jan who was doing the cut line thing.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Tori's like, yeah, whatever.
Tori, you go.
Yeah, you got it. He's like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll eat a bush.
Yeah. It's like, we're going to make this epic video, but first you need to eat a bush.
You got to eat a bush first. He's like, all right, I don't know how it's going to help, but yeah, I will. I'll do it.
Imagine like diarrhea.
Nice. Nice palm flip. To back flip. Slide line. Insane. And sliding on his back. What the...
I wonder if it was after Kirill did his slide line or before.
Might have been. I don't know.
I think you was the first one, probably.
This is hilarious.
Oh, we did it together too.
Oh yeah, we tried that.
I was in heels.
That was funny.
What was that blood about?
The what?
The blood on his face.
I don't know. Cranberry juice.
Look at those abs.
Abbies.
Yeah. Oh, he's gonna flip, right?
Yeah, flips over the guy. Pretty damn sick.
Imagine the timing. Stick it.
Easy. Dismount backflip, sick. And then
the bottom
huge dismount.
Yeah.
Just stoked.
Do you think like music was a bigger part of the like videos? You know, like.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say about the?
I was just saying the
wall flip.
Wall flip on the tree. That was another thing that Jan did first, and it was like that is so sick. I mean, that's that's a huge
line,
front. That's huge.
I wonder if maybe there were some mats underneath.
Maybe. I don't even know it, but I mean, I still give it to him.
Yeah.
I still give it to him. It's insane. How he's playing a drunk guy, I don't even get it. It's a funny idea, but I'm like, what is going on in this video? This is the craziest stunt ever.
I think it's the bush.
Yeah, he's eating too much bush.
Yeah.
When I saw this first, I was like, this is green screen. This is fake. This
Seriously?
is insane. Oh, I was like, no way, that's real. With the powder and everything, I was so stoked.
It's so funny because like you come from like a generation before me. For me, like because it's already like I could see it being done. So for me, it's like okay, now people doing this. Like so for me, it was a normal thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That stunt?
Yeah. I mean, it was a cool thing, but I didn't see it as like. I don't know. I think it's like what we talked about before, that every generation comes with like a level set.
Yeah.
So like,
well, the level set was I was still. Let's see. It's the end of the video. It was 6 years ago. Okay, so I was still competing at that time. No, I'd finished, but I still had like the competitive. I can't
believe it was 6 years ago. It feels like it was way like before.
It does, right?
Yeah, maybe they supposed to do it 6 years ago.
Maybe 6 years ago would have been what 2017. So I was doing mostly tramp wall. I was not really in the slackline, but it came out and I was like, I could still do all these things. I was like, I was trying to compare myself, and I was like, I don't think I would do that. Like to do a back simus from that height and then land on another one from that height and then do it was like.
Imagine you have to like under rotate, right, and then to go lower.
Exactly.
To be like perfectly.
Exactly. If you do it perfectly, you're going to a lower line, so you're gonna go on your head. You know?
Yeah. You have to like adjust somehow.
So that was fun. Double backflip, but Jan did finally the double backflip feet to feet, and I know he'd been trying that for so long, and I respect that guy so much because he's still doing slackline. Even to this day, I think he's sponsored by Red Bull now, and
let's look at it.
He's still competing. He still has that competitive nature of like I want to get better at slackline, which is so long. He started before me. He's still doing it, and I'm like, I give him so much credit.
Do you miss it sometimes?
Not really. Not really. I just like, and I don't even know why. I do know why. I really strive on progression, and to get back to where I was pushing my limits, I feel it would take a lot of work and a lot of pain just because falling and all these things. I mean, this guy just landed on his nuts, but
but is it because like tramp wall, like since you're doing tramp wall now, is it because tramp wall is just like easier gratification and you can do like bigger tricks easier and doesn't hurt as much?
Maybe that it doesn't hurt as much is one thing, although I've had my fair share of like injuries and pains from tramp wall. It's more just like I'm at this peak of pushing my own limit in tramp wall that I want to keep pursuing that.
And so you can do both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in slackline, I have to not relearn, but I have to relearn like, I haven't done double front in a long time. How am I going to do full with a half in the second flip right now? I have to do so many double front flips just to get back to that. How am I going to do all these tricks that I have wanted? I don't have the prerequisite anymore because I haven't done them in so long, and there's tricks I have just because I've done so many and in a show, I can always do nasty chest. I can always do back full. I can always do fearless. Just like certain tricks that back foot to feet, boom, I can do that. But if I'm now going to be like, all right, now I have to start doing twists. I have to do like, what is it called? Frog flip, which is owl flip, frog, half twist, front to chest. Like, oh my God, how am I going to start with that? You know, like
that is a nut destroyer.
It's a nut destroyer, and it's like you have to figure out how to get rotation and twist and spin. And I'm like, I'm going to decapitate myself so many times, and I don't have the motivation to do that. You know, and the only way I would feel the satisfaction again is to do that, is to learn those tricks. But I don't have the motivation to do that. You know, I don't know. But trample, I do. I that's why I'm still. I don't know. I kind of burn myself out, I think. I go way too intense on certain things, and then it's either I always progress quickly because I do too much of it, and then I burn out. All right, well, this is just like his journey of trying to land it over years and years.
Yeah.
But finally at this gym he does it, which.
Oh, he's gnarly falls too.
Oh, dude, he has so many falls, so many gnarly falls. And to my knowledge, nobody's done it.
Keeping like a secret out of it for someone for so long, like you're doing it, but you can't really, like he doesn't really tell people.
Yeah,
and,
I know.
I think he just landed it. How do you even feel after like trying something for so long and then landing it?
I can't even compare anything I've done to what he did, because that was years in the making of that trick. You know, I've had tricks that I've been thinking about for, let's say, year, 2 years, or I've seen somebody do it and I was like, oh wow, I want to get that trick, and then finally land it, and you have that euphoria. You're like, wow, I didn't even know that I could do this, or so, you know. But to put in that much work and that much effort and that much pain and to, it's, I don't know how
for me, like I know, like I didn't land a lot of stuff, but like when I landed, like I really wanted the front flip, and it took for me a long time to land it. But then once I've landed it, I felt nothing.
So that's another thing I'm going to try to explain. Things never feel like, and this is almost like a lesson to all the new coming slackliners and everything. But, or anything you do in life, really. You look at something, you look at what somebody does, or a trick that you really want to learn, and you always think it feels a certain way, as in, wow, that must feel really cool. Wow, that must feel like so badass. That's usually what it is. You're like, man, it looks so badass. You know, this double twist or this certain thing. And usually how it goes is you try so many different times, so many different ways, and you find your own way, and finally, in the end, when you land it, it just feels like one more step.
One more step, yeah.
It doesn't feel like, wow, I just landed it. It's like, and the finishing step is now, and I feel nothing towards this trick. And it never feels like what you think. And that's why even learning guitar, I would like my favorite song. Oh, I have to learn my favorite song. I would think about all day. I'd be in school. I want to come home and play my favorite song. And I would finally learn it and be like, I learned it, and now I hate the song, and I don't. It's not even. It doesn't feel as good as I thought it was gonna feel, and you're like, oh my God, you have to just. That's why they always say you have to love the process, because all the fun and all that excitement is in learning it. You know, you have to enjoy learning it, enjoy the process, enjoy all this stuff, because in the end, what do you have? You know. Yeah. You don't have anything.
I think it describes my journey pretty well, because I don't have a lot of progress or like achievement. And people ask like, so why are you doing this? You know, what's attracting? But I think it's those little steps that you figure out. For
sure. Those little clicks, you know, those little like, oh, that happened, or whatever. Oh, and some days it is quicker. You know, front flip for you was like, oh, it took so long, and you finally did it, and it was boring. But there are those days where you're like, oh wow, this is feeling pretty good. Back bounce feeling good, wow. And then you do like 180, and you're like, I think I can learn it. You know, back bounce 180. I think I can learn that. And then it happens, and you're like, oh my God, I learned it one day. It was so sick. It was so cool. So you do have those. You do have those days that have the euphoric. Yeah. But yeah, if you have a certain thing in your head where you're doubles or all these certain things, you're like, you think it's so cool, and then you do them, and you're like, was it that cool? I don't even know. Anyway, just talking about that.
Okay, guys, we're gonna wrap up.
Yeah.
That was Luke Diestel.
Boom.
Our first episode.
Yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed.
Stay tuned. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Who do you think is going to be next?
I have no idea. Maybe Zeph.
Perfect. Back to the roots, baby.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Just like, oh.